Hello everyone, we are pleased to present our project title Formation of the Government of Alashorda and the Kazakh Soviet Socialist Autonomy Comparative Analysis. Our team members are Sanjar, Tias, Altay and Alisher. Between 1917 and 1920, Kazakhstan went through one of the most complex and defining periods in its history. After the collapse of the Russian Empire, national movements started to rise across the Kazakh steppe. Two political directions emerged. Alаш Orda, which represented democratic national ideals and aimed for independence, and the Kazakh Soviet autonomy, which followed socialist principles and was organized under Moscow's authority. This topic is very important because it helps us understand how modern Kazakh statehood developed through the interaction of the ideologies, national democracy, and socialism. Our research question is how did the political goals and governance models of Alаш Orda differ from those of the Kazakh Soviet socialist autonomy? To answer this, we studied the works of historians such as Kozubayev, Nasambayev, and used materials from which include original 20th century documents. We also refer to books like The Alash Movement and Its Leaders by Koyguldiv and The National Idea in Kazakhstan State Formation by Nasambayev.
In our research, we applied a comparative analytical approach. This means we analyze both governments using several common parameters: leaders and ideology, political goals, structure, and the relation to Russia. For the Alаш Orda, the leaders were Alikhan Bugikhanov, Ahmed Baidarsunov, and Mirza Abdulatov. Their ideology was national democratic, focused on self-governance, freedom, and the modernization. Alаш Orda tried to unite the Kazakh people, create a parliament, and establish schools, education in the native language. One of our main primary sources is a proclamation of Alаш Orda, 1997. It said that our government shall defend the rights, unity, and independence of the Kazakh nation. This shows that the movement aimed to build a democratic system based on justice and equality. The second primary source is a declaration on the establishment of the Kazakh Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, 1920. This document declares that Kazakhstan was now part of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialistic Republic. It was based on socialist ideology and class equality, giving power to workers and the peasants through Soviets. It marked the transition from democratic autonomy to socialist centralization, from independence to integration into the USSR. By comparing these two sources, we can see the ideological shift. Alаш Orda represented freedom and the national unity, while the Soviet autonomy represented equality and collectivism under Moscow.
This slide shows a comparative table between Alаш Orda and the Kazakh Soviet autonomy, and the differences are clear. Ideology: Alаш Orda was national democratic, while the Soviet autonomy followed socialist and Marxist-Leninist ideas. And Alаш Orda was led by Kazakh intellectuals Bukikhanov and Baitarsunov. The Soviet autonomy was organized by Lenin's representatives Radu Senkvich and Menlinov. And Alаш Orda wanted national independence, the Soviet autonomy wanted unity within the USSR. And Alаш Orda supported native language education, the Soviets promoted literacy and the Russian instruction. And Alаш Orda had elected consuls, the Soviet autonomy had workers' councils under communist control. The political transformation in Kazakhstan began in 1917 when the Alаш Orda government was formed following the Russian Revolution. By 1918, it continued its work but faced growing conflicts with the Bolsheviks. In 1920, the Kazakh SSR was officially established within the Soviet Republic. marking the beginning of a new satellite administration. Between 1921 and 1925, the Soviet system gradually replaced all Alashorda institutions, completing the integration of Kazakhstan into the USSR. The key ideas behind these historical changes can be summarized in three main concepts. First, autonomy. It means the right of the Kazakh people to govern themselves and make independent decisions about the future. The second, socialism, the belief in equality and collective ownership, which became the foundation of the Soviet system. And finally, the national movement, which represented the effort to revive Kazakh culture, language, and identity after years of imperial rule. Both the Alash Orda and the Kazakh Soviet autonomy shared the same dream to protect and strengthen the Kazakh nation, but they chose very different paths to achieve it.
On the slides, we present museum and archival materials from the State Military History Museum and the Central State Archives of Kazakhstan. These photos show portraits of all leaders, maps of military organization, and original documents like Congress, resolution, and decrees. They are valuable historical evidence showing how Kazakhstan's political institutions were formed in the early 20, 20th years center. In conclusion, our research shows that uh, the Alash Order determined pressure documentary autonomy, focusing on national self-governmency and modernization. The Kazakh Soviet autonomy aimed for socialist equality and collective control under Moscow. Despite the ideological difference, both shared the same national goal to preserve the unity and independence of the Kazakh nation. Together, the two movements represent two important historical stages that laid the ideological and the political foundation for modern Kazakhstan. Their legacy still remains use the value of freedom, unity, and identity